guys, last night we saw the Rising Stars challenge. Now, let's just take a look at these teams. Yes, this event has passed. We're still going to talk about it. So on Team T, you saw Anthony Black, Tristan Da Silva, Grady Dick, Jaime Jaquez, Brandon Podjenski, Zachary Richasset, Alexander Sarr, and then Kaysen Wallace. I don't think he played. I believe he was injured. Team M, you saw Mataz Buzelli. I don't know how to pronounce Termin Kamara, Bub Carrington, Bilal Koulibaly, Scoot Henderson, excuse me. Yessi Messi. I don't know, man.
Messi.
It's the Rising Stars. It's tough.
Right. Azor and Amon Thompson. And then Team C, Stefan Castle, Ryan Dunn, Zach Eddy, Keontae George, Tyrese Jackson Davis, Dalton Connect, and then Jalen Wells. And then on Team G League, obviously our own JD Davidson, Mac McClung, Bryce McGoverns, Leonard Miller. I can't read the last one. Reed Shepard. Reed Shepard's on the G League team. That's interesting. He was a high draft pick. So obviously Team C, they walked away with the win. I don't want to toot my own horn. I looked at the rosters last night after Seamus texted and asked for our predictions. I was all over Team C. Give me that. I saw Stefan Castle. Give me that. Guys, so, the Rising Stars, this is something that, I personally didn't watch it. I think the last time I watched it, I watched it last year, I want to say, when Wembanyama was around. I think that's kind of what fans look for. However, where were you guys at? Who'd you guys pick? I know it's already happened, but,
I took Team Hardaway just because I thought that the young rookies, Richasset and Sarr, were going to be able to put on their performance, and I think that would have been what's best for the NBA is if you got to see those guys playing at their full potential, proving their worth as the number 1, number 2 draft picks in this year's draft. But because I think there's been a very big overshadowing of this year's draft class, and you kind of don't really see the importance of rookies in the NBA anymore until their second, third season, until they've gotten that development under them. But I miss when like rookies would have this big rookie season debut. You would know who the hot upcoming player is in the NBA. Obviously, you see the Thompson twins who are starting to become some notable players and whatnot. But it's just a very weird outlook, and I think we don't really have much to comment on it when it comes to the Celtics. Obviously, it's great to see JD Davison getting the recognition in the All-Star Conference to promote the G League. It's just kind of weird to me that it kind of seems very pieced together. And one thing I'll notice is when Rob couldn't even pronounce some of the players' names. That's kind of a problem for the NBA. If you have rising stars in the league and you have people who are dedicated to following the NBA, learning all the NBA players, figuring out who's going to be up next, and you don't really even have their names on promoted enough to a fact where I've even heard their names pronounced over an NBA broadcast is kind of embarrassing for the NBA because it's just a lack of poor promotion, being able to bring up the rising stars, being able to showcase them in a proper format, right. But and also them being able to match up against the All-Star team on Sunday is kind of BS to me because there's players that were snubbed from the All-Star tournament. If they're going to do this multiple team instead of 2-team layout for the All-Star weekend and for the All-Star game, I think they should expand the rosters of the East and West and allow more players to get in. I think having 15 players from each conference would be amazing for the NBA, and then you can also build for rosters based off of that. But
See, I'm on the opposite of you. I would say, make it more prestigious to get into the All-Star game. Cut it down to 10 each and run 4 teams of 5 that play and those guys are just playing, like that's how I would view it. I'd be like, okay, like, you want to make this thing be a little bit more special. Okay, make it harder to get into the All-Star game, right? Oh, sorry, only 10 guys each conference. There are more guys getting snubbed. It's more like, prestigious to get in. But I know that's a little off topic, but I don't know. That's how I would see it.
Oh, wait.
I think.
Go ahead, Franco.
I was just gonna wrap up, but I think that's just I think having as many All Stars as possible, especially if you're trying to expand the game, will allow for the smaller market teams to be able to have their All Star be available. I've always seen it as a rule of thumb that I always thought the NBA should implement is have one person from at least each organization represented at one event. I think like having the NBA should be able to have like, let's say, I'm trying to think of snubs that happened from the All Star game, but
Trae Young,
or let's think like if there was a Jazz player in the All Star tournament, I would find like a Keontae George or a Colin Sexton or a Lauri Markkanen, throw them in the skills challenge just so every team has a representative there.
I will say to that, the only team who literally does not deserve a representative whatsoever, it's the Washington Wizards. I don't know who. I don't know who
Malcolm
off the
Brogdon
Washington
should be
Wizards.
there.
What Malcolm Brogdon you throw in there, or like I don't Jordan Poole. Like I don't know about the Washington Wizards having a representative anywhere at All Star Weekend if they can't even show up during the regular season. But beside the point of the entirety of All Star Weekend, in terms of the Rising Stars, I'm a little remorse here to say that I took Team M, who lost to the G League squad last night. Actually, it was the most interesting game of the entire Rising Stars tournament, so I'm a little bit happy about that. But lost to the G League squad on just a crazy game-winning three. It was 39-37 at the end, and Team M actually had the advantage, but then three-pointer goes in for the G League squad, and the G League squad advances to the finals, which was a bit surprising, a bit shocking, but you do have to remember that the G League team, they're actually going out there to play because they want to actually make the league, and that's kind of one of their spotlight moments of, I'm in front of an NBA crowd right now. I'm not in front of just an empty gym in the G League at this moment in time. I'm in front of an NBA crowd. I'm going to go out here and actually compete. And of course, JD Davison, our very own Maine Celtic, was on that G League team last night. But I was really feeling Team M. I had Julian Strother. We got Amin Thompson out there. I mean, Team M, it looked like, they had a lot of good cutters, a couple of good ball handlers. But I think it's funny because everybody, I think it's your pick, Rob, everybody kind of looked at that team and immediately focused in on Stephon Castle and went, ooh, they have Stephon Castle out there.
Right.
And he, of course, walks away with the Rising Stars MVP last night. And he'll be playing on Sunday. Maybe Stephon Castle will be playing for real on Sunday in the future, but this year he'll be a Rising Star on Sunday. And kind of to go off of Franco's point for a second is the fact of the Rising Stars playing on Sunday. I'm sorry, no, the All Star game is meant for the All Stars. All right, you play the full 82 game season, or really the All Star game, you play half the season, really. And that moment is for the All Stars. In no world should we have the All Stars playing against the Rising Stars, some of which will bring up in the past the Rising Stars. They've been rising stars who really didn't turn into stars whatsoever. I mean, we've seen rising stars out there that have literally not amounted to anything in the NBA besides 3 seasons, 4 seasons in the NBA. Some guys turn into legitimate household names later on in time, but a majority, I shouldn't say majority, but maybe half of the rising stars won't actually be stars in this league, yet they're going to play on Sunday. These young guys are going to play on Sunday against the All Stars, who, to me, it should be what's great about the All Star game is just seeing star players go up against each other and all the talent out there go up against each other. The rising stars, I mean, come on. These guys, we don't want to see these guys play the All Stars. And what's really getting me here is the fact that you could have a scenario. I mean, really, we're going to see the scenario, actually, regardless of what happens. We're going to see. So, what Team Kenny and Team Chuck face off, and then Team Shaq, I think, faces off with the Rising Stars team. Well, the All-Stars on Team Shaq, which are the OG All-Stars, right? They could not be playing the Global All-Stars at all, or they could not be playing the young All-Stars, right? So essentially, we're creating a scenario where either the young or Global All-Stars, which again doesn't really make any sense the way it's arranged, one of those two teams will not be playing the OG All-Stars. I mean, that's really what we're seeing. So we can see Brown and Tatum. They might not go up against Karl Anthony Towns or Donovan Mitchell or Nikola Jokic on the global team. They might not go up against the other young All Star team with all the players on the young All Stars. And ultimately, that's just to me a travesty to the point where that's where you need to just be a traditionalist in terms of the NBA going out there and throwing out the traditional format of East versus West, or even picking teams. I'm fine with the picking of teams. That was fine. That the way they did that, it was becoming a tradition at the very least. But this little mini tournament, it now sets up the scenario where one team is going to play the Rising Stars, and then they're going to meet a team who just beat another team that they're not even going to see. So we're going to see
Right.
two All-Star squads not even face off against each other. And what's going to be horrible is if the Rising Stars beat that All-Star team, Team Shaq, which we'll see the schedule a little bit later here, that Rising Stars team will be in the final against an All-Star team. And that's not what anybody wants to see. They don't want to see Rising Stars versus the All-Stars in the final. And if the Rising Stars win, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, winning the All-Star game really
Would be
doesn't matter.
embarrassing.
But that's where, again, why are the Rising Stars in the All-Star tournament or the game? It's like, this is a pageantry event for the All-Stars to go against each other, and we're throwing the Rising Stars out there.
Right.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's lazy.
It shouldn't happen. I mean, it's a ludicrous idea. And Rob, I completely agree with you that it 100% sounds like everybody's just sitting in an office somewhere in New York in a high rise, going, you know what? Who's got an
The
idea?
G League
It's like, all right, how about we do the G
Yeah.
League? How about we do the Rising Stars on Sunday? How about we just put teams in the skills challenge and just we'll do windmill stuff and just have them. We won't even have them race. We're gonna time them. We're gonna I'm getting back onto the point of earlier, but it's just all ridiculous. I mean, the All-Star game should be for the All-Stars, and I don't want to see the Rising Stars out there. And no, I swear it's not because my Rising Stars team completely faltered against the G League team last night. It was a bit rough.
Yeah, no, I mean, I picked Team C, I believe. And you know, I'm with you guys. I think it's dumb. As for the Rising Stars game itself, I love the Rising Stars game. I think it's honestly like if you want to watch like really competitive, fun basketball on All-Star Weekend, that's probably where you should tune in on. I watched it last night for a brief stint, not a lot. And I enjoyed it. I always enjoy it. But like, yeah, I mean, on the topic of what are we doing, NBA? That's so bad. And again, it's like, here we are, right? A good I'd say overall, I watched overall the Rising Stars game last night was a success. It was a win, right? Awesome, great. You had guys trying. It was entertaining. This and that. It's overshadowed now by the fact that fans are like, why the hell are they playing on Sunday? Right? It's like, why are we like, it just ruins it. It's lazy. It's bad. I'm so against it. And do you want to talk about tradition? The Rising Stars game, who remembers Tim Hardaway Jr. and Deion Waiters going back and forth and back, or when Kyrie Irving dropped Brandon Knight? Those are Rising Stars games. So it's like, again, you want to stop with the tournament. Stop with it, right? Sophomores versus freshmen, right? Like, do it. It's what are we doing, NBA? Right? Like, exactly. Like, what are we doing? Enough with the tournaments. I get you're doing it in the wrong areas. And the Rising Stars Challenge, I'm sorry. I mean, I'd love to. I gave you my prediction, but I'm going to bash on it. It's just bad and lazy. And no one you look at all the best moments. Right, it is when we got simple. It's true. It's classic. The product's just good, and that's what the NBA doesn't realize. It's all about the product, right? And you're not focusing on the product. You're focusing on the glitz and the glam and the tournaments and look at this. You want March Madness, single elimination. People love that. Oh, let's put it in the All-Star game. Let's put it in the in-season tournament. Enough. It's lazy. It's getting ridiculous, and it was ridiculous.
Also, people love March Madness because it's what 68 teams, 64 teams when it's really all going at once, and there's 32 games in the first round, and they're played throughout a 2 game or a 2 day stretch, right? There's 30, so there's 16 games and 16 games, they're all going on at the same time, and there's upsets happening across the board, and there's craziness. And the NBA, the problem with them implementing single elimination tournaments into their formats, right? Whether it's the NBA Cup, whether it's the All-Star Weekend, there's not enough games, and there's not enough, to me, hype behind the teams or care behind the teams within the tournament to create that same atmosphere that March Madness creates. March Madness is unique in the sense of there are so many teams. There are so many teams from a vast array of conferences and just records, and just you have some of the top teams in the nation like Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, all then the Blue Bloods, Kentucky, of course, and then you have all these small schools who make it out of these small conferences. You have them matched up together. You have upsets all over the place. All of the teams are
The
playing
last
at
second
once.
hurrahs with the fouls. It's just like,
and the Cinderella stories, and also just the characters, honestly, who come out. Like last year, Jack Golke out of nowhere, DJ Burns, Eddie Lampkin, all the players in which people don't know about throughout the regular season, but then all of a sudden in the tournament, like, who is this guy? Who's shooting for Oakland out here? Who's shooting every shot for Oakland? And there's not enough hype in terms of 2 games in a tournament, or that's basically what the NBA Cup plays. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games? 7 games in their tournament, single elimination. That's not enough. That's not really there's not enough games, and those 7 games are spaced out throughout like 2 or 3 weeks, honestly, in the tournament, or I should say, yeah, they're about 2 weeks. And honestly, that really doesn't create enough hype around that situation or the same atmosphere as March Madness, and the stakes are not as high. It's not a vast array of conferences and teams and records playing against each other in talent, I will say, as well. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder are meeting the Bucks in a single elimination game in the NBA Cup, or right now the All-Star teams are meeting in a single elimination game. That's where I think the NBA, they must have a bunch of idiots working for them in their front office, because ultimately they're going, these guys are hired, they're data analysts from these prestigious universities. They're going, you know what's really working? It's the March Madness single elimination. It's like not the same atmosphere, not the same setting. It's not going to work. I mean, when you have 4, 5, 6, 7 games out there, and it's not this, there aren't the same stakes. The teams are not as vastly different. The March Madness breeds a unique environment, and ultimately single elimination alone is not what makes March Madness March Madness. It's a part of March Madness, but there's so many other factors. There's a bunch of teams. There's teams from all over the place. There's the characters that are formed. The NBA, when they go into All-Star Weekend, when they go into the NBA Cup tournament, there's no correlation in we're now doing single elimination. People love this. No, I think the NBA, there are a lot of fans. We talked about this on the NBA Cup special. We love 7-game series, actually. That's where we really thrive in. At the end of the year, we go, this is professional basketball. They play each other 7 games, or however many games are in the series, and they go and strategically take each other out throughout a tournament. And it's not just single elimination. Okay, well, we're done after 1 game, after playing an 82-game season, or however long the schedule is. And that's also what's being missed here by the NBA. And it feels like this special is turning into just an all-star rant about what the NBA is doing wrong on All-Star Weekend.
All-Star Weekend, not
that's
special.
That single elimination aspect is just terrible. It has nothing to do with the ratings. Has nothing to do with it being good or bad. Nothing.
Before we go to the skills challenge, I do want to say something on this too. March Madness is special in its own way. The NBA is special in its own way. Right. The skill gaps on March Madness are like, okay, this is probably like the best player on like the 4th seed in Virginia, and like the best player on like, it's like they're close, right? You look at the talent, like it's close. That's why you see these crazy runs. It's different. You see the double bonus, and it's just different games. Honestly, college basketball and NBA aren't the same game. Stop trying to make the NBA something it's not. The NBA is different. The competition is better. The talent is better. They play 7-game series. Want to know why? Because it's better. It's more exhausting. It's tougher. Stop it. Stop with these single eliminations. It's not what people want to see. It's not what people want to see. God, it's so annoying. And
Especially 3 games. It's like, 3 games elimination. It's like 3 games. Like, who cares? Who cares about 3 games?